Imagine a world where wars are no longer fought over oil or ideology, but over something far more fundamental: water. From the Nile in Africa to the Brahmaputra in Asia, the planet's rivers are becoming flashpoints in a new kind of geopolitical struggle. Climate change, overpopulation, and unchecked development are turning once cooperative watersheds into battlefields. This is not science fiction. This is happening right now. Welcome to the era of hydropolitics, where access to water determines the fate of nations. Water covers over 70% of Earth, but only 2.5% of it is freshwater. And of that, just a fraction is accessible to humans. As of 2025, over two-thirds of the global population experiences water scarcity at least once a month per year. By 2040, that number is expected to rise dramatically. In many parts of the world, rivers are the lifeblood of nations. They power dams, irrigate crops, and provide drinking water for billions. But rivers don't respect borders. Nearly 300 rivers cross national lines, and their shared usage has created both cooperation and conflict. Case in point, the Indus River, which sustains both India and Pakistan despite a former water treaty in place since 1960. Tensions flare every time a new dam is announced. But it's not just about politics, it's about survival. Let's start with one of the most iconic rivers in the world, the Nile. The Nile stretches over 6,600 kilometers, flowing through 11 countries and sustaining hundreds of millions. But for decades, Egypt held the lion's share of the water, thanks to colonial-era treaties signed in 1929 and 1959. These treaties essentially gave Egypt veto power over any upstream projects. Historically, these treaties were heavily influenced by British colonial interests. At the time, Britain prioritized the security of Egypt and the Suez Canal over the development of upstream African colonies. Enter Ethiopia. In 2011, Ethiopia began constructing the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a massive hydroelectric project on the Blue Nile. Ethiopia sees the dam as essential for its development, but Egypt sees it as an existential threat. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi once said, "No one can touch Egypt's water," followed by Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, "No force can stop Ethiopia from building the dam." Despite years of negotiations, the situation remains tense. Both sides have made military threats. Sudan, caught in the middle, is torn between economic benefits and water security risks. The Nile is no longer just a river, it's a fault line. Now let's turn to South Asia, home to a fifth of the world's population and several of its most important rivers, the Indus, Ganges, Brahmaputra, and the Mekong. The Indus Basin, shared by India and Pakistan, the Indus River system is governed by the Indus Water Treaty of 1960, brokered by the World Bank. It's one of the few international water agreements that has survived multiple wars. But it's under strain. India has built several dams in recent years, sparking outrage in Pakistan. Both nations accuse each other of manipulating water flow for strategic advantage. The Brahmaputra, originating in Tibet, flows into India and then Bangladesh. China is constructing multiple dams in its upper reaches, triggering alarm in downstream nations. China insists these are run-of-the-river dams and won't significantly alter flow. But the lack of transparency and rising geopolitical tensions, especially between China and India, make this a high-risk scenario. Add climate change to the mix, and the Himalayan rivers become ticking time bombs. Much like the Nile, these disputes often stem from colonial-era boundaries and treaties that fail to account for upstream development rights. In the Middle East, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers are the cradle of civilization, but today they are flashpoints. Turkey controls the headwaters of both rivers and has built over 20 dams under the southeastern Anatolia project. This gives Turkey significant leverage over Syria and Iraq, who rely on the rivers for agriculture and drinking water. A historical insight: these rivers nurtured Mesopotamia's earliest cities, but modern politics have turned this life-giving region into a battleground. Iraq accuses Turkey of choking off its water supply. Syria, torn by war, can barely manage its infrastructure. Climate change has reduced rainfall, and rising temperatures are causing rivers to evaporate faster. What was once a fertile crescent is becoming a crescent of conflict. The Mekong River flows through 6 countries and supports over 60 million people. But upstream dams, especially those built by China, are altering the river's natural flow. Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam depend heavily on the Mekong for rice farming and fishing. But erratic water levels have disrupted ecosystems and livelihoods. China's refusal to join the Mekong River Commission and its OPEC dam operations have fueled mistrust. During droughts, China has been accused of hoarding water. The Mekong has long been a unifier, used for trade and transport since ancient times, but development pressures have turned it into a source of division. History shows that water conflict is not new. Ancient Sumerians fought over irrigation canals. Rome's aqueducts were considered vital infrastructure, guarded with military precision. In medieval Spain, the Tribunal of Waters was created to manage irrigation disputes. But as the stakes grow, so does the danger, with modern implications, such as water scarcity can fuel migration and urban unrest. Droughts can collapse food systems and economies, and disputes over rivers can lead to military escalation. Yet history also offers hope. The Indus Water Treaty, despite hostilities, still functions. The Senegal River Basin Organization is a real example of a successful multilateral water governance. The choice is clear: cooperation or catastrophe. So where do we go from here? Investment in water sharing institutions is critical. Technological solutions like desalination and water waste recycling offers promise. Satellite monitoring can provide real-time data for fairer management. Most importantly, diplomacy must take precedence over dominance. Experts predict that the 21st century will be shaped not just by who controls oil, but who controls water. Nations that prioritize sustainable water management will emerge as the true superpowers. And while water can divide, it can also unite. Shared rivers can become bridges if we let them. The world is heating up. Rivers are dying, and populations are exploding. In this landscape, water is no longer just a resource. It's a weapon, a bargaining chip, and a lifeline. From the Nile to the Mekong, the next great conflicts may not be fought in deserts or in oil rigs, but on the banks of rivers. The question is, will we fight over water, or will we finally learn to share it? If you found this video insightful, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below.